Olivia Carter checked the suite number on her phone for the third time as she balanced the champagne bucket in her arms. Penthouse 4201. The gold numbers on the door confirmed it. She knocked twice, heard nothing, and used her hip to push the slightly ajar door open. "Champagne delivery for the Martinez celebration," she called out, stepping into the most luxurious space she had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the glittering Los Angeles skyline, and the marble floors reflected the warm glow of recessed lighting. This was exactly the kind of high-end client her struggling event coordination business desperately needed. Steam drifted from an open doorway to her left. Olivia frowned. Maybe the bathroom? Perhaps they wanted the champagne set up in there for some extravagant bubble bath celebration. Rich people did weird things. She walked toward the steam, her sensible black flats silent on the expensive flooring. What she saw when she entered the bathroom made her freeze completely. The champagne bucket slipping from her hands and clattering loudly on the tile. A man lounged in a massive marble bathtub that could have fit for people comfortably. His head rested against the edge, eyes closed, dark hair wet, and pushed back from a face that belonged on magazine covers. Water droplets clung to broad shoulders that rose above the bubbles and even from across the room. Olivia could see the defined muscles of his chest and arms. "Sweet mercy," she whispered. His eyes opened. They were a striking shade of gray, like storm clouds, and they locked onto her with an intensity that made her breath catch. He did not move to cover himself. He did not shout. He simply raised one dark eyebrow in what looked like amusement. "I assume you are not the massage therapist I ordered," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "I am so sorry," Olivia stammered, her face burning hot enough to cook an egg on. "The door was open and I thought this was the Martinez suite, and I have champagne, but clearly you are not celebrating a retirement party, and I will just go now and forget this ever happened." But her foot caught the edge of the champagne bucket. She went down hard on her knees with an undignified yelp. The champagne bottles rolled across the floor, one of them bumping against the bathtub with a gentle clink. "Are you hurt?" The man sat up straighter, concern replacing the amusement in his expression. "Only my dignity," Olivia muttered, scrambling to gather the bottles with shaking hands. One had cracked, golden liquid seeping onto the pristine white tiles. "Oh, no, no, no. This is a $300 bottle. My boss is going to kill me. Leave it." His command was gentle but firm. "Look at me." Olivia forced herself to meet his eyes, still kneeling on the bathroom floor like some kind of medieval servant. Up close, he was even more devastating. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw with just a hint of stubble, and those incredible eyes that seemed to see right through her. "What is your name?" he asked Olivia. "Olivia Carter." "Oh, Olivia Carter. I am Adrian Blackwood, and you are in penthouse 4203, not 4201. Recognition hit her like a lightning bolt. Adrian Blackwood. The tech billionaire whose face graced business magazines monthly, the man who had built a software empire before age 30 and was now worth more than some small countries. And she had just burst into his bathroom while he was naked in a bathtub. "I am going to die of embarrassment right here on your bathroom floor," she said weakly. To her surprise, he laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and genuine, transforming his serious face into something even more attractive. "I have a better idea. Stay there for just a moment." He stood up, and Olivia immediately squeezed her eyes shut, her hands flying up to cover her face. "Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Relax. I am getting a robe." She heard water sloshing, footsteps, the rustle of fabric. "You can look now." Olivia peeked through her fingers. Adrian stood there in a black silk robe, tying the belt around his waist. Even covered, he was imposing. He was tall, probably 6'3", with the kind of presence that filled a room. He extended his hand to help her up. His palm was warm and dry, his grip firm as he pulled her to her feet with easy strength. Olivia wobbled slightly in her practical flats, suddenly aware of how plain she must look in her simple black pants and white button-down shirt with the catering company logo embroidered on the pocket. "Thank you," she managed. "I should really go and let you get back to your bath and possibly move to another state where I will never have to see you again. Actually, I have a proposition for you." Olivia blinked. "A what now?" Adrian studied her with those penetrating gray eyes, and she felt like a specimen under a microscope. How much do you make with your event coordination business? That is a really personal question from a stranger I just saw naked, Olivia said before she could stop herself. Her mouth had always been her worst enemy. His lips twitched with suppressed amusement. Fair point. Let me rephrase. How would you like to make $100,000 over the next 3 months? Olivia laughed. It came out slightly hysterical. Okay, so you are either insane or this is some kind of elaborate prank. Is there a camera crew hiding somewhere? I am completely serious. Adrian walked past her into the main living area of the penthouse, gesturing for her to follow. Can I offer you something to drink? Water? Coffee? More champagne that you did not mean to bring me? Despite every instinct screaming at her to run, curiosity won. Olivia followed him into the living room, sinking into a leather chair that probably cost more than her car. Adrian poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher and handed her one before settling onto the sofa across from her. I need a girlfriend, he said simply. Olivia choked on her water. Excuse me? Not a real girlfriend. A pretend one. My family, particularly my father, has decided that before I take over as CEO of Blackwood Technologies, I need to prove I am stable and settled. In their minds, that means having a serious relationship. Why not just actually date someone? Olivia asked, her mind racing to keep up. Because every woman in my social circle wants to marry me for my money or my name or my connections. I do not have time or patience for the games that come with that. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. But you, Olivia Carter, you walked into my bathroom by complete accident. You were mortified, not opportunistic. You tried to leave, not linger. That tells me you are genuine. Or just socially awkward, she muttered. Perhaps both. His smile was slight but real. Here is what I am proposing. For 3 months, you pretend to be my girlfriend. You attend family dinners, company events, charity galas. You play the part of someone who has captured my attention. In return, I pay you $100,000. Olivia set down her water glass carefully, afraid she might drop it. $100,000. That was enough to cover her mother's medical bills with money left over. Enough to save her tiny business that was barely staying afloat. Enough to stop the constant anxiety that woke her at 3 a.m, calculating how to stretch every dollar. Why me? She whispered, you could hire an actress, someone who knows how to navigate your world, because you are real. My father has met every actress and model in Los Angeles. He would see through that immediately. But you? Adrian gestured at her plain clothes, her practical hairstyle, her complete lack of designer accessories. You are unexpected. You are different. You are perfect. I am a disaster, Olivia corrected. I just proved that spectacularly. A charming disaster. He stood and walked to a desk in the corner, pulling out a leather folder. I have had my lawyer draft a contract. Everything is spelled out clearly. Your compensation, your responsibilities, confidentiality agreements. You would have your own room here in the penthouse to make the arrangement believable. All expenses paid, of course. He handed her the folder. The contract inside was thick, intimidating, full of legal language she barely understood. But the number on the compensation line was clear. $100,000. I need to think about this, Olivia said, her voice shaking slightly. Of course. Take 24 hours. Here is my private number. He handed her a business card with just a phone number embossed in silver. Call me with your decision. Olivia stood on unsteady legs, clutching the folder and the business card like lifelines. This is insane. Probably, Adrian agreed. But sometimes the best opportunities come from the most unexpected moments, like walking into the wrong penthouse. She made it to the door before turning back. Adrian stood silhouetted against the windows, the city lights behind him making him look almost otherworldly. Why are you really doing this? She asked. The truth. He was quiet for a long moment. Because I am tired of people wanting me for what I have, instead of who I am. And I suspect you understand what that feels like, in your own way. She understood feeling overlooked, underestimated, reduced to circumstances beyond her control. I will call you tomorrow, she promised. I look forward to it, Olivia Carter. She left the penthouse in a daze, taking the elevator down 42 floors with her mind spinning. In her pocket, the business card felt like it was burning through the fabric. $100,000. 3 months. Pretending to date the most attractive man she had ever seen. What could possibly go wrong? That night, Olivia sat in her tiny studio apartment, staring at her mother's medical bills spread across her kitchen table. Stage 3 cancer treatments were not cheap. Her small business had 3 clients, all of them demanding and late on payments. Her rent was due in a week, and she was $200 short. She picked up her phone and dialed the number on the card before she could talk herself out of it. Adrian answered on the first ring. "You are calling early. I have one condition," Olivia said, her heart pounding. "My mother can never know this is fake. She has cancer, and she worries about me constantly. If she thinks I am finally happy and dating someone stable, it will give her peace." "Agreed," Adrian said immediately. "Anything else? This is just business, right? No actual relationship expectations?" There was a pause. "Just business," he confirmed, though something in his tone made her pulse quicken. "So do we have a deal, Olivia?" She looked at the bills, thought of her mother's worried face, remembered the way Adrian had looked at her with something like respect despite her catastrophic entrance into his life. "We have a deal." "Excellent. I will send a car for you tomorrow at 6. Wear something nice. You are about to meet the Blackwood family." After he hung up, Olivia sat in the silence of her apartment and wondered what she had just agreed to. But when she looked at the contract again, at that life-changing number, she felt something she had not experienced in months. Hope. The black town car that picked up Olivia the next evening was longer than her entire apartment. The driver, a kind-faced man named Robert, treated her with such respect that she almost forgot she was essentially playing dress up in a borrowed life. Almost Adrian had sent over 3 designer dresses that morning with a note in his precise handwriting. "Choose whichever makes you feel confident. Tonight is important." She had selected a deep emerald dress that somehow fit perfectly, making her feel like someone who belonged in penthouses instead of studio apartments with leaking faucets. When the car pulled up to a mansion in Beverly Hills, Olivia's confidence evaporated. The house looked like something from a movie. All white columns and manicured gardens lit by subtle landscape lighting. Through the massive windows, you could see chandelier and people in evening wear holding champagne glasses. Her phone buzzed. Adrian's text read, "You look beautiful. Just be yourself. They will love you." She looked up to see him standing in the doorway, devastating in a charcoal suit. He walked down the steps to open her car door himself, extending his hand. When she took it, he squeezed gently. "Breathe," he whispered. "I am right here." The Blackwood family was exactly as intimidating as Olivia had feared. Adrian's father, Robert Blackwood Sr., was a silver-haired titan of industry with sharp eyes that missed nothing. His wife, Catherine, was elegant in pearls and a navy dress, her smile polite but assessing. Adrian's younger sister, Julia, was a stunning brunette who looked Olivia up and down with barely concealed skepticism. "So you are the mysterious woman who has captured my son's attention?" Robert Sr. said, his handshake firm enough to make Olivia's bones ache. "Adrian has been remarkably secretive about you." "We wanted to keep things private at first," Adrian said smoothly, his hand settling on the small of Olivia's back. The warmth of his palm through the thin fabric made her hyper-aware of every point of contact. Olivia values her privacy. "How refreshing," Catherine said, though her tone suggested she found it more suspicious than refreshing. "Tell us about yourself, dear." "What do you do?" "I run a small event coordination business," Olivia said. Grateful her voice came out steady. "Corporate events, private parties, that sort of thing." "How did you two meet?" Julia asked, swirling her wine with studied casualness. Olivia and Adrian had practiced this story. "I was coordinating an event at his hotel. We quite literally ran into each other. More accurately, she knocked a champagne bucket into my evening," Adrian said with a slight smile. "It was the most memorable introduction I have ever had." The truth hidden in that lie made Olivia's cheeks warm. Robert Sr. laughed, a booming sound that seemed to ease some of the tension. "That sounds like fate with a sense of humor." Dinner was an elegant torture. Olivia navigated multiple forks and glasses while fielding questions that felt like a job interview. Catherine asked about her family, her education, her 5-year plan. Julia wanted to know her opinions on modern art and summer homes in the Hamptons. Robert Sr. grilled her about business principles and market trends. Through it all, Achitsu remained a steady presence beside her. His hand would find hers under the table during difficult questions. He would redirect conversation when his mother became too probing. He made sure her wine glass stayed full but not too full, that she always had water. That she felt included in family jokes she could not possibly understand. "You are doing great," he murmured during a lull when his father was telling a long story about a business acquisition. His breath against her ear sent shivers down her spine. "Your sister hates me," Olivia whispered back. Julia hates everyone I date. It is her hobby." After dinner, Catherine insisted on showing Olivia the garden. It was clearly a test, a moment to get her alone. They walked along a lit path between rose bushes, the scent heavy in the evening air. "My son has dated many women," Catherine said without preamble. "Models, actresses, heiresses. None of them lasted more than a few months." "I see," Olivia said carefully. "He has always been looking for something real, something genuine. But his world makes that nearly impossible. Everyone wants something from him." Catherine stopped, turning to face Olivia directly. "What do you want from my son?" The question hung in the air. Olivia thought of the contract, the money, the lie she was living. But she also thought of the way Adrian had laughed in his bathroom, the kindness in his eyes when he had helped her up from the floor, the gentle pressure of his hand on her back all evening. "I want him to be happy," she said honestly. "That is all." Catherine studied her for a long moment, then smiled. It was the first genuine smile Olivia had seen from her all evening. "Good answer, dear. Welcome to the family." The drive back to Adrian's penthouse was quiet. Olivia leaned her head against the cool window, exhausted from performing for 3 hours straight. When they arrived, she kicked off her heels in the elevator with a groan of relief. "You were perfect," Adrian said, watching her with something warm in his expression. "My father actually smiled. That almost never happens." "Your mother thinks I am a gold digger doing a very good job of hiding it," Olivia replied. "She thinks everyone is a gold digger. You will grow on her." He led her into the penthouse, which was now partly hers, according to their arrangement. "Your room is ready. I had some of your things brought over." The guest room was larger than her entire apartment, with a king-sized bed, a sitting area, and a bathroom that rivaled a spa. Her few belongings looked lost in the enormous closet. "This is too much," Olivia said weakly. "This is the arrangement," Adrian corrected. "We need to be convincing, and that means you living here. Get comfortable. Tomorrow, we have a charity gala." Over the next 2 weeks, Olivia's life transformed into something unrecognizable. Days were filled with shopping trips where personal stylists dressed her in clothes she could never afford. Evenings meant galas, dinners, theater performances, where Adrian's hand stayed possessively on her waist. Nights found them back at the penthouse, talking over wine about everything and nothing until the city lights blurred into dawn. She learned that Adrian took his coffee black, that he worked too much, that he had a scar on his left shoulder from a childhood bike accident. He learned that she sang off-key in the shower, that she stress-baked at 2 in the morning, that her mother's illness terrified her more than she would admit to anyone. The line between pretend and real began to blur. It blurred when Adrian kissed her at a fundraiser, ostensibly for show but lingered longer than necessary. It blurred when she woke up on the penthouse couch, covered with a blanket Adrian must have draped over her with a note that said, "You looked peaceful. Sleep as long as you need." It blurred when he came home late from meetings and sought her out first, as if she was the person who made his day feel complete. Then Vanessa. Sterling appeared at a gallery opening for weeks into their arrangement. She was everything Olivia was not. Tall, blonde, polished to perfection, in a white dress that probably cost more than a car. She glided through the crowd straight to Adrian, kissing both his cheeks with familiar ease. "Adrian, darling, it has been too long," she purred, her ice blue eyes sliding over Olivia dismissively. "Who is your friend?" "Vanessa, this is Olivia, my girlfriend," Adrian said, his arm tightening around Olivia's waist. "Olivia Vanessa Sterling. We were engaged briefly, years ago." Engaged? He had never mentioned being engaged. "How charming," Vanessa said, her smile sharp as glass. Adrian always did have eclectic taste. Tell me, Olivia, how did you two meet? It must be quite a story. It is, Olivia said, lifting her chin. Sometimes the best things happen by accident. How poetic. Vanessa's laugh was like wind chimes, pretty and cold. Adrian, we should catch up properly. So much has changed since we last spoke. I am back in Los Angeles permanently now. The rest of the evening, Vanessa circled them like a shark scenting blood. She touched Adrian's arm too often, laughed too loudly at his polite responses, made sure Olivia saw every intimate glance and shared memory back at the penthouse. Olivia paced the living room while Adrian poured whiskey with controlled movements. You did not tell me you were engaged before, she said, hating how her voice shook. It was 5 years ago. It lasted 3 months. It was not relevant. She is still in love with you. Hush. Vanessa is in love with the idea of being Mrs. Adrian Blackwood. There is a difference. He handed her a glass. Why does this bother you so much? Because I am falling for you, Olivia thought, but could not say. Because this stopped being pretend for me weeks ago. Because when she looks at you like she owns you, I want to remind her that you chose me, even if it is not real. It does not, she lied. I am just tired. Adrian set down his glass and crossed to her, tilting her chin up with gentle fingers. You are a terrible liar, Olivia Carter. Good thing I am not lying about anything important then, she whispered. He stared at her for a long moment, something conflicted warring in his gray eyes. Then he stepped back, creating distance that felt like miles. Get some rest. We have brunch with my family tomorrow. That night, Olivia lay in her enormous bed and admitted the truth to herself. She was in love with Adrian Blackwood. Completely, impossibly, devastatingly in love. And in 8 more weeks, their contract would end. And she would have to walk away from him forever. The thought made it possible to sleep. The final month of their arrangement arrived with the weight of an approaching storm. Adrian grew quieter, more distant, throwing himself into work with an intensity that kept him at the office until midnight. Olivia tried to convince herself it was just the stress of the upcoming CEO transition. But she knew better. He was pulling away because he felt it too. This thing between them that was never supposed to be real. Vanessa Sterling, meanwhile, became a constant presence. She appeared at every event, always perfectly positioned to remind Adrian of their shared history. She sent gifts to the penthouse, arranged chance meetings, and smiled at Olivia with poisonous sweetness. She knows something is off, Julia warned Olivia during a rare moment of sisterly solidarity at a family dinner. Vanessa is many things, but she is not stupid. She is watching you both like a hawk. There's nothing to see, Olivia said automatically. Please. I have watched my brother with dozens of women. He has never looked at anyone the way he looks at you. Julia sipped her wine thoughtfully. Whatever this started as, it is real now. The question is whether either of you is brave enough to admit it. That conversation haunted Olivia as she packed for a weekend at Adrian's lake house in Big Barry had suggested it as a break from the pressure of Los Angeles. But the intimacy of 3 days alone together felt dangerous given the state of her heart. The lake house was not a house. It was a stunning modern structure of glass and wood perched on the water's edge, surrounded by pine trees and absolute privacy. No staff, no schedule, no performance required. This is where I come when I need to remember who I am, Adrian said as they stood on the deck watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold and pink. No one from my regular life comes here, then why bring me? Olivia asked quietly. He turned to look at her, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole her breath. Because somehow you have become part of who I am. That night, they sat on the deck wrapped in blankets, drinking wine and talking until stars blanketed the sky. Adrian told her things he had never shared with anyone. About his mother leaving when he was 10, walking out on the family without explanation or goodbye. About the fear that had lived in him ever since, that everyone he cared about would eventually abandon him. That is why the engagement with Vanessa ended, he admitted, his voice rough. I realized I was marrying her because she was safe, predictable. Someone who would never really touch my heart enough to destroy me when she left. But she did not leave. You did, Olivia said gently, because I knew she would eventually. Better to control the ending than be blindsided by it, he laughed without humor. My therapist has had a field day with that logic. Olivia took his hand, lacing their fingers together. Not everyone leaves, Adrian. Some people stay. Some people fight, do they? He looked at their joined hands, his thumbs stroking over her knuckles. What happens in 3 weeks, Olivia? When our contract ends. Her heart cracked. I suppose we both go back to our real lives. And if I do not want that? The words came out barely above a whisper. If I want this to be real... Olivia pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. Do not do that. Do not say things you do not mean because we are alone and the moment feels romantic. You think I do not mean it? Adrian stood too, frustration clear in every line of his body. I've been falling for you since you crashed into my bathroom covered in champagne. Every day since has just made it worse. We had a deal, Olivia said desperately, even as her heart soared. A business arrangement. You cannot just change the rules because you feel like it. Why not? You changed everything the moment you walked into my life. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like the performance kisses they had shared at public events. This was desperate, honest, full of 3 months of suppressed longing. Olivia kissed him back with everything she had been holding in, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. They barely made it inside to the couch, a tangle of limbs and gasping breaths. When Adrian pulled back, his eyes were dark with desire and something deeper. Tell me you feel this too, he demanded. Tell me I am not alone in this. You are not alone, Olivia whispered. I am terrified, but you are not alone. They made love there by the fireplace with a tenderness that brought tears to Olivia's eyes. After, wrapped in Adrian's arms, with his heartbeat steady beneath her ear, she felt something settle into place. Whatever happened next, she would never regret this moment. The peace lasted exactly 3 more days. They returned to Los Angeles to find Robert Blackwood Sr. in the hospital. Heart attack. Serious, but stable. The family gathered in the cardiac wing waiting room, fear etched on every face. Adrian sat with his head in his hands, Julia beside him rubbing his back. Catherine looked 10 years older, makeup smudged from crying. When the doctor came out to say Robert was awake and asking for his son, Adrian stood on shaky legs. I am coming with you, Olivia said, taking his hand in the hospital room. Robert looked fragile in a way that seemed wrong for such a forceful man. But his eyes were alert when he saw Adrian and Olivia. Good, you are both here, he rasped. I need to say something while I still can. Do not talk like that, Adrian said, his voice breaking. Hush, I am not dying today. But this was a warning shot. Robert reached for Catherine's hand, squeezing it. 52 years I have been with this woman. 52 years and I still wake up grateful she chose me. That is what I want for you, son. Not duty, not obligation. Love. He looked at Olivia. I do not care if you are a secretary or a princess. I care that when you look at my boy, I see the same thing I see when Catherine looks at me. That is all that matters. Tears streamed down Olivia's face. Adrian pulled her close, his own eyes wet. Take over the company, Adrian. You are ready. But more importantly, hold on to what is real. Robert closed his eyes, exhausted. Now get out of here and let an old man rest. In the hallway, Adrian pressed Olivia against the wall and kissed her like she was air and he was drowning. I love you, he said against her lips. I am in love with you. Whatever we need to do to make this real, to make it work, I will do it. I love you too, Olivia sobbed. So much it scares me. They held each other in that sterile hospital corridor while their future rearranged itself into something beautiful and terrifying. But Vanessa Sterling had one more move to play 2 days before the board meeting, where Adrian would officially become CEO. She appeared at Olivia's tiny event planning office, the one she had kept running throughout the arrangement. We need to talk, Vanessa said, settling into a chair without invitation. About your little arrangement with Adrian? Olivia's blood went cold. I do not know what you mean. I had a private investigator look into you. The timing of your relationship, the contract Adrian had drawn up, the substantial deposit made into your account.
Oh.
Vanessa smiled. You are nothing but a paid actress, playing a part. That was how it started, Olivia said carefully. But things changed. Did they? Because I wonder how the board would feel knowing their new CEO built his relationship on a lie. How his father would feel knowing the woman he gave his blessing to was bought and paid for. Vanessa leaned forward. Or you could walk away now. Quietly. Let Adrian explain. You were a phase. A mistake. I will take my place at his side where I belong, and no one ever needs to know the sordid truth. Olivia felt sick. Everything Vanessa said was technically true. The relationship had started as a transaction. There was a contract, money exchanged. Even if her feelings were now real, the foundation was false. What do you want? She asked hoarsely. I want you gone by tonight. I want you to tell Adrian it was all fake for you, that you cannot keep pretending. Break his heart before I break his reputation. Vanessa stood, smoothing her designer dress. You have until 6. Choose wisely. After she left, Olivia sat in her shabby office and cried. She cried for the unfairness of it all, for the love she had found in the most unlikely place, for the impossible choice in front of her. Stay and potentially destroy Adrian's business and family relationships, or leave and destroy them both. She knew what she had to do. At 5:30, she sent Adrian a text asking him to meet her at the penthouse. She packed her few belongings, left the expensive clothes in the closet, and placed the key to the penthouse on the kitchen counter along with a letter she had written with tears streaming down her face. When Adrian arrived, she was standing by the windows, memorizing the view she would never see again. Olivia, what is going on? Why are your bags packed? I cannot do this anymore, she said, the practiced words like glass in her throat. I thought I could, but it is too much. Your world, your family, the pressure. I do not belong here. That is not true, Adrian said, crossing to her. We belong together. We love each other, do we? She forced herself to look at him, to lie to the face she loved more than anything. Or did we just get caught up in playing pretend? Maybe we convinced ourselves it was real, but this was always temporary, Adrian. Always a business deal. You do not mean that. His voice was raw, disbelieving. I do. I am sorry, but I need to go back to my real life. This has been wonderful, truly, but it is time to end it. The words were killing her. Each one carved a piece out of her heart. Olivia, please, Adrian begged, and she had never heard him beg for anything. Do not do this. We can figure it out. Whatever is wrong, we can fix it. Some things cannot be fixed. She picked up her bags, walked past him toward the door. Goodbye, Adrian. Thank you for everything. She made it to the elevator before collapsing against the wall, sobs racking her body. The doors closed on Adrian's stricken face. Olivia knew she had just made the biggest sacrifice of her life. For 3 days, she did not leave her apartment. Her phone rang constantly with Adrian's calls, his voicemails desperate and confused. Julia texted demanding to know what happened. Even Catherine called, her voice worried rather than cold. Olivia ignored them all. She had saved Adrian's reputation, and that was what mattered. He would move on. Men like him always did, and she would learn to live with a broken heart. On the 4th day, someone pounded on her apartment door with enough force to rattle the frame. Olivia Carter. Open this door right now, Adrian's voice demanded. She stood frozen in her tiny kitchen. He pounded again. I know you are in there. Your neighbor told me. Open the door, or I am breaking it down. And given that I am built like a linebacker, and this door looks like it is held together with hope and paint, I think we both know how that ends. Despite everything, Olivia almost smiled. She opened the door to find Adrian disheveled in jeans and a t-shirt, his hair wild like he had been running his hands through it, his eyes red-rimmed and furious. You lied to me, he said without preamble. Adrian, I told you how I felt. No, you lied. I know about Vanessa. Julia ran into her yesterday, and Vanessa could not help but gloat about how she had gotten rid of you. He pushed into the apartment, closing the door behind him. You left to protect me, because she threatened to expose our arrangement. Olivia sank onto her threadbare couch. It does not matter now. It matters to me. Adrian knelt in front of her, taking her hands. Do you really think I care what the board thinks about how we met? Do you think my father would judge us for finding something real in an unconventional way? Your reputation means nothing without you, he interrupted fiercely. Nothing. I already told the board everything. The whole story, the contract, the money, how it started, and how it became the most real thing in my life. Olivia's breath caught. You told them? Every detail. And you know what they said? He smiled, though his eyes were wet. They said any man smart enough to recognize true value when he saw it was exactly the kind of CEO they wanted. My father laughed for 5 minutes straight and told me I came by my unconventional business strategies honestly.
Oh, what about Vanessa?
Vanessa is facing a harassment lawsuit and social exile. Turns out threatening people with blackmail is frowned upon. Adrian cupped her face with both hands. Come back to me, Olivia. Not because of a contract or an arrangement. Come back because you love me and I love you, and we can figure out everything else as we go. I am scared, she whispered. What if it does not work? What if we ruin what we had by trying to make it real? Then we will have tried. And I would rather try and fail with you than succeed with anyone else. He pulled something from his pocket. A ring. Not a flashy diamond, but a simple platinum band with a single emerald that matched the first dress he had chosen for her. Marry me for real, Olivia. No contract. No time limit. Just you and me figuring out forever. She was crying again, but this time they were good tears. Yes, 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 yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her there on the couch in her tiny apartment that suddenly felt exactly right because he was in it. I have one condition, though. Olivia said when they finally came up for air. Anything. No more bathtubs. They are dangerous for us. Adrian laughed, the sound filling every corner of her small space. Deal. Although for the record, that bathtub changed my entire life. Mine too, she agreed, kissing him again. Mine too. 1 year later, Olivia stood in the garden of the Beverly Hills mansion, watching guests mingle at their wedding reception. Her mother, healthy and in remission, laughed with Robert Sr. about something. Catherine was showing Julia pictures on her phone, probably of grandchildren she was already lobbying for. The Dolce Isabel confection table. Featuring creations from the event planning business she had expanded into a full catering company, was surrounded by appreciative guests. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. Having regrets, Mrs. Blackwood? Only that I did not crash into your bathroom sooner, she said. Leaning back into his warmth, we have our whole lives for you to make accidental entrances. He turned her to face him, and the love in his eyes still made her breath catch. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for making a ridiculous proposal, she countered. Best business decision I ever made, he said, and kissed her as the sun set over Los Angeles. Painting their future in shades of gold, they had started with a mistake, a contract, and a bathtub. They had built something real from a foundation of pretend. And in the end, they proved that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings led to the most beautiful endings. 3 years later, standing in that same garden with Adrian and their 6-month-old daughter Isabel, named for the grandmother she would never meet, but whose love story inspired her parents, Olivia thought about fate and champagne buckets and wrong penthouse numbers. She thought about how one embarrassing moment had transformed into a lifetime of love, and she was grateful for every ridiculous, unlikely, perfectly imperfect moment that had brought them here. Thank you for taking that time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.